Did you
Yeah,
have internal struggles when coping with academics or any other activity?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I was always late to things. This is like unfortunate truth, and um, I'm quite often late to things. I'm late to meetings and lunches, and my homework was late, and
Really?
um, you know, conscientiousness is not a huge skill set of mine, really. It's one that I've over time got a thousand times better at. But it has been a real problem at points, socially, in terms of my friends being like, you know,
Flustered, annoyed?
it feels like you're not respecting my time when you're late or whatever. And I'm like, it's nothing to do with you. I just got really absorbed in whatever it was I was doing before. And I mean, I think as I like, you can kind of make as many excuses as you like. Sometimes you just do have to be on time and you do have to be disciplined about it. And sometimes your like close friends will be like, oh, that's all right. That's just Vedica being 10 minutes late as always. But with homework, this was my real problem was it's like very hard to get something over the line. So I
Same.
struggle a lot. Yeah, I struggle a lot when I'm writing. I mean, I was when I was doing my dissertation for my master's, it was like a day and a bit late um because I was just 90% of the way there. And I felt like I was 90% of the way there for 4 days in a row because I just fiddle and fiddle and fiddle around. And I think I have particularly when I'm writing, I'm quite perfectionist. And so those two traits were very unhappy together in my academics. And it did cause me a lot of like, I did really like beat myself up at times, being like, "Oh my god, this is ridiculous." You know that you're always handling things late, and then here it is again. And at some point, you just like one big part of it is communicating to the people around you, the people who have expectations from you about like firstly that you have ADHD, that this is something you find difficult. Often in schools there are like special provisions, extra time, all this sort of thing available for you. Then the second thing that I sometimes find is the temptation is to just ignore the problem as you see it incoming and be like or overpromise and underdeliver to your friend saying, okay, I'm going to be there at 10 past when you know that you're going to be there at half past, or to your professors or whatever, and you'd be like, okay, no, it's going to be in tomorrow, and you know that it's not. And actually, like one of the things that I've learned is that being really upfront always wins and always is the better strategy. And even being pessimistic, even if it's like, I'm sorry, I'm 45 minutes late and you're only half an hour late, is better than the longer in advance you can tell someone that you're going to be late, the better as well. Even though the temptation for everyone I know who has ADHD is to just let the time like tick on, tick on. One of the great lessons from that book, ADHD 2.0, is that for ADHD people, there are kind of two times. There's like now and not now. And this is one of the big like conceptual differences between people who experience time more, I think, as like a spectrum or as a process that they're moving through. And so for me, like I can know that I have a call in 5 minutes, and then I can just get caught up in something and like blah 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 blah, and look up and I'm 10 minutes late. I'm like, oh my god. So that's where building in really good process alarms super useful. And and then being very honest with the people who are in your life around what a realistic expectation for when you think you can get something done is. And I think in the end that actually is really helpful for your psyche as well, because for me, I don't know about you, I imagine this for you too. When I'm late, when I'm behind on something, it's like there's this, I'm carrying around a weight on my shoulders, and it makes it hard to do anything else because I feel like, oh my God, I need to be doing this essay, which I'm behind on. But like, here I am, like with my friends, which I've agreed to see a week ago. And so, like, and it means I can't really enjoy spending time with my friends or doing whatever else I'm supposed to be doing. But I also am not doing my essay. And so I think that the being very clear with the about when expectations are is really really useful.
That was yeah, that was very detailed, but yeah, it is like, yeah, I know, like sometimes it can be a burden, like you can find it as a burden, like when you when you're like late to like when you're late submitting a particular task. And actually in my school I do that very often, because like when I'm doing a work like in certain, um I kind of get distracted because like my mind like can't tolerate a lot of stuff. So like today I had my French formative, and I could have finished it but I couldn't because my mind just like like after a certain point it was like my mind, like I just feel like I'm punching a wall and it's very hard. Like there's something in my brain that's rattling me the most. So I either have to do a certain sport to like calm me down, or either do art. That's why most of the time I ask teachers if I could go to the art room,
Yeah,
and they
that's
get
a
flustered. And that's why they get flustered with that because it's not a good etiquette to go to the art room, and because it's a particular subject that they are teaching and I can't like misuse that time.
yeah. I mean, I think that a big part of it is not taking too much on. So because I think that there's a huge danger of getting overwhelmed, is especially when you're up against the clock. Like it can be really paralyzing when you're like, oh, I need to get this done in the next 20 minutes. Now, so this is another superpower, right? Because sometimes the opposite is true. And you, like, for me at least, I sometimes find that when the stakes are really high and the clock is like ticking down, that's when I get into a flow state style kind of thing, and like I get real clarity of thought and can just and then finally it's like done. Only when it really matters. One of the things people often say, like a good ADHD people are great in a crisis, which is you may be a bit surprising. But when everything's going wrong, weirdly, this often causes like a real clarity to people with ADHD. But when the stakes are low, when you're just like in a class, you have to complete something, then I think it can be really paralyzing. And that's okay. And I think being able to communicate to your teachers and saying, like, this just isn't going to happen. It like either I can sit here and be miserable and not get it done, or I need to take a break. Like the comparative use of your time, even though technically you should be spending it on geography or whatever it is, in terms of what actually makes sense in the practical world, often it does make more sense for you to be able to take a break, go exercise, do something that like gets you out of the focus on the specific the specific thing that you're struggling with at that point.
Hmm. And with all this, like what habits influence you to overcome your internal struggles?
Yeah, so I use my calendar all the time. I try and schedule my time. I'm always trying to be a bit pessimistic about how long something's going to take. Um, I like have regular so another thing that is quite difficult with ADHD is admin, and like I try and block some time in a week to do
Hmm.
like the scheduling, the admin, rather than trying to let it just like all build up. I try and say, okay, this is the like 2 hours a week or whatever that I'm going to spend doing all the stuff I have to do, all at once. And then and then often when you have a long, like lots of little things that you have to do, stacking them so you get a little boost of adrenaline or endorphins when you complete a task, and
Hmm.
using that little boost as the activation energy that it needs to get you into starting the next thing. That's really useful strategy to like stack things one on top of the next, because I think one of the things for a lot of people with ADHD is that the kind of activation energy, the minimum amount of oomph you need to get started with any task, is a little bit higher than with other people. And so finding synthetic ways of giving yourself a little oomph into a task is very
Hmm.
useful. And then also finding ways of rewarding yourself when you've done something. So I'm not going to do X, Y, Z until I've done this. And it can be the tiniest thing ever. It can literally be like a sweet, or it can be, and one of the things I would do is I'd like, okay, I'm going to do about 45 minutes of work and then I'm going to go for a little walk. And so maybe if for you it's like going and doing art, then the right way of approaching this is, um, I'm going to like complete this set of tasks, and then I'm going to go and do painting. and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the next 45 minutes, and then I'm going to do 15 minutes
Yeah.
of thinking. And it's important to give yourself some rhythm, some breaks. Like if you just sit for 3 hours, like smashing your head against a wall, you're never going to do anything. That's just like definitely true.